A Tesla. I know what you're thinking. Who would buy an electric anything if it's not a Tesla? Maybe a Taycan if you have 150K sitting around, but when it comes to everyday people in the mid-luxury segment, Tesla's the king. And Audi knew this as they dropped off this Sportback. They immediately brought it up to me. Right after they asked me, have you driven an electric car before? Before I even said anything, they knew that Tesla was on my mind. It was so funny seeing their sales process and how they really placed their vehicle in the line with Tesla. And they were immediately transparent in the fact that, yes, we don't have as much range as a Tesla, but here are some of the cool things we do. And so let's dive into that and see some of the cool things this Sportback can do. So this is a 2020 Audi E-Tron Sportback. I'm still a little bit confused about their lineup. I was actually supposed to get a 2021 Prestige SUV Sportback, or I don't know what they call it. Maybe it's the Audi E-Tron SUV. It was very confusing. I know it's not called the Q Sportback. I mean the Q SUV. But yeah, let's just drive this thing. Go somewhere. Oh crap, I turned it off. That's one of the things about electric cars. I forget. There's no engine. So whenever you drive, don't expect to hear an engine kick off. You just put the car in drive. Whoa, that is very weird. Off we go. So I figured I should share a little bit about my persona and kind of how I approach this. And to figure out if I'm the right buyer for this, I think it's important that, we look at who's going to be purchasing this vehicle. I have a girlfriend, we have a dog, we don't have any kids, and my other car is a Toyota Supra, and my girlfriend drives a Mazda 3, which we like a lot, but we know that once the lease is over on that car, we'll be getting something else. And ideally, that something else would be electric. Just because going forward, I think electric is the way to go. It's obviously cheaper than gas, and more importantly than anything, it's better for the environment. Oh, let's see. All right, what happens if I punch it a little bit? Wow, there's just a lot of torque. I'm not even gutting it. I did drive a Tesla Model S a couple years ago, and that really blew me out of the water, because right before test driving that, I drove a BMW 5 Series, and I just felt like the 5 Series was just dated and stagnant, and BMW was just not innovating in that market. But then when I drove the Tesla, I really felt like the revolution, not just with the fact that the car was electric, but also the self-driving capabilities were really, really impressive. And so a car like this doesn't have the level of self-driving capabilities. It doesn't have the range of a Tesla, and it costs about the same, if not more. And so it's like, how would you, or why would you pick this over a Tesla? And so I guess that's how this whole program came about. So I'm driving this car through a rental program with Audi, or it's not even a rental, I think it's just a promotion campaign. You get an e-tron delivered to your door. I had a gentleman drop it off this morning at 8:15 a.m. He gave me a walkthrough of the vehicle, and then on this iPad, I was talking to a product specialist, which gave me a full kind of run-through demo of the car and its capabilities and how it stacks up against Tesla. Because at the end of the day, Audi is going to have a lot of work to do. And not just Audi. I mean, every manufacturer out there that's coming out with cars, they just, on paper, they are not standing up to Tesla. There's just a lot of things that Tesla has been doing for a long, long time that, nobody's really done. And, talk about charging. I mean, Tesla is killing the game when it comes to charging. This car doesn't use Tesla's supercharger network, even though Elon Musk said it will be okay for other cars to use their supercharger charging network. And so combine that with the lower range and the fact that you can't just charge anywhere you go, that you're locked to certain charge stations, whereas a Tesla can charge anywhere it wants to. That's kind of, an inconvenience. So let's talk about how Audi wants to be different from Tesla, or more importantly, how they want to be better from Tesla. So this car has a 95 kilowatt hour battery. It is rated for 240 miles. One of the big things that they were saying was different is that there's 28 different components in this battery. Instead of it being one big old battery, there's multiple different sections. And what that does is, in fact, it actually helps with battery degradation. So they're saying, and this is their claim, I have done zero research behind this, that their batteries will last a lot longer than Tesla's. In fact, when you are, she was saying something, it was kind of confusing, but she was saying when you use your car and you fully recharge it, you're only using about like 10% of all of the battery, which I'm having a hard time wrapping my mind about like actually how that works. So I'll have to ask her about that again. But a couple other things that are different here are the paddle shifts. For example, this car has paddle shifts, but it has no gears. And so these paddle shifts are in fact in order to do brake regeneration. So thinking about doing engine braking, that's exactly what it feels like. So you can downshift and your engine braking, and then that regenerates your battery. Now, I still haven't quite figured out what the upshift gear is for, because if I were, let's say I were to slow down, or if I wanted to pass a car and I was doing brake regen, why would I want to do brake regen? And then you don't need to upshift ever. So I'm not really sure what this plus paddle shift is for. It's kind of weird, but I guess it will be weirder to have a downshift and not an upshift. The charging speed is 150 kilowatt hour. And so the way they explain it to me is that if you charge this car at a fast charger, which is basically Electrify America and a couple other companies offer fast charging, you would get 150 miles of range in 30 minutes, which is like, it's decent. I don't think it's like a super bad thing. I'm pretty sure Tesla's charge faster than that, but you know, it's not like, it's not a huge deal. But when it comes to charging, there's actually this really cool thing with the navigation, that if you look at the map, you can actually zoom out and it'll tell you how far you can go on one charge based on your driving characteristics. It's only for a one-way trip, so once you get to that blue line, you'll have to find your own way to get back. But nonetheless, a neat trick. And also that blue map area, that boundary, will actually change as you drive. So if you do drive, you know, in a sports setting and you're using a lot of battery, the map size, the blue size, will tend to shrink a little bit. And from there, if you were to schedule something that is outside of your blue zone, the car will actually suggest driving points where you should stop and charge before you get to your destination. So interesting tidbits. It still feels, I don't know, I still have that feeling of just range anxiety. Like really, like the more range the better. Like we're just so early in this process of EVs that having a car with 240 mile range, you know, realistically, you're only going to drive 200 miles. You don't want to, you know, drive until the very last mile. And as you turn on the air conditioning, as you turn on seat heating, you know, that 240 mile range is going to drop down. If you're going to pass a car on a freeway, you're going to be using more battery. And so really, you know, like 300, it seems like a really good number. But imagine, you know, when we get to a point where cars have 500 miles of range, I think that's when EVs will just like automatically, you know, become no-brainers. So range anxiety is a thing. That's a big problem with this car. Now, a neat thing with this Audi compared to Tesla is that you're still eligible for tax credits. So I'll figure out the details of what the tax credit is for this Audi Sportback. And then also Audi throws in free supercharging for basically, I think it's like $1,000 of supercharging. Like it's like a gift card when you buy the car. So think about $1,000 in gas. That would be kind of cool. And so they throw that in, but that only works at Electrify America. So it's like, so it's just, it gets complicated, right? These EVs, there's no just one solution, because then you're going to have this card and then you're going to be like, oh, I have to go to Electrify America, unless you can charge at night where you live, you know, and then it doesn't cost you as much to compare it to going out and charging somewhere else. But yeah, EVs. They're the future, but right now they're just, I don't know. Tesla has it. Other manufacturers are playing catch up. Other manufacturers lag behind, and now they're clearly paying the price, and you can find it. And it's not a bad car. Like the fit and finish in here, the car feels good. It feels premium. It feels better than like than my M235 felt. The 2 Series, you know, it's not bare. You know, this wood countertop is kind of cool. I love this digital display with the full map view in front of me. The 2 big screens, it's kind of unnecessary, but like, sure, you know, I'll take it. I mean, like these door handles, these like open door handles are kind of nice. And, you know, fit and finish, this car is, you know, 200% better than a Tesla would be as of 2021. This is kind of cool too. There's like these little openings here. Yeah, it feels luxurious, but I don't know. If it were the only electric vehicle in the world, it would still be a tough sell as your daily driver. Mainly because of the fact that you can't use every charging station, and that realistically, you can't do a round trip of more than 100 miles without stopping for 30 minutes somewhere. But then consider this. The Audi E-Tron Sportback wasn't fully loaded, but had an MSRP of $70,000. That's more than a Model S, and even with a $7,500 rebate, it's still more expensive than a Model Y with autopilot. I get that the build quality of the e-tron is a lot better than Tesla. The battery durability is a big advantage, and it is a nice looking car, but Tesla isn't staying still. They're actually in a process of refreshing their Model S and X lineup, and they're working on solid state batteries, which will give their cars even more range in addition to solving the battery degradation issue. Oh, and regarding driving automation, the e-tron let me down. My Supra, a sports car, comes with an adaptive cruise control system that is easier to use. I don't love Tesla, and I want more competition in the EV market so that we, the consumers, can get better cars. But after today, I am left to wonder, will auto manufacturers ever catch up?
It's alright.
Did you get one?
I was rich.
Is it better than your Mazda?
No, I like my Mazda. I don't like too high-techy things. I don't understand it. That's the old grandma in me speaking.
You don't feel like it's easy to use?
No, not at all. Too many things to learn. Too many buttons. Too many screens.